Hello, everyone. Welcome to Snap Take. This is Glazer of Snap Judgments, the official podcast of Marvel Snap Zone. And today we got two sweet decks for you. Lambi has started playing Thanos again. If you're not aware, Lambi's the best player in the game, and he first became known in Snap for playing Thanos decks. So that he's found a build, he only plays it when it's like the best. That he's found a build that could be the best in the game is 100% worth knowing and talking about. We've also got our friend Keen Koala, who hits Infinite with Quake every single season. So we're going to take a look at Keen's Quake Infinite deck. It's always really cool. Before we go any further, I'd like to invite you to subscribe. We do at least two brand new decks every single weekday on this channel. We often do much more. Tomorrow, we're going to have a full breakdown of Nico in the morning, and then an afternoon deck where we take a look at two more decks. We always make sure that we bring you proven decks that keep you ahead of the Marvel Snap meta so that you can hit Infinite, get Infinity, climb into High Infinite, and basically hit all your goals in Snap while playing the most interesting and fun decks. Hopefully, you hit the sub button. It's totally free to you and really help us out. We did a giveaway for Glenn Jones being on our podcast and for the 1 year anniversary of Snap. We got 4 of the 5 people to email us. So if you are Nick W, please reach out through email. The email is in the chat. We would love to set you up with that Deadpool bundle for your win. Next up. All right, this is a big ask. I'm giving away both Magic's birthday party and the Deadpool bundle. One of each. One person's getting both of these. What you have to do for this is you have to go to Super Tech God's Twitch stream on Tuesday at 6. Make sure you're following him. You don't have to sub. Subbing costs money. I'm not trying to cost you any money. Follow him and say happy birthday. Tomorrow at 6, he's doing a stream on his birthday, and I want to try and show some love and send some of my viewers over his way. He's like the coolest guy, a fellow New Yorker. Show love. Go to twitch.tv/supertechgod, hit follow. He's going to pick the winner there. He'll let me know who, and I will set you up with both Magic's birthday party and the Deadpool bundle. Go show my boys some love. We're going to do one at the beginning of the week for Super Tech On if you want to get a head start. My friend Wolversnap's birthday is Halloween. We're going to do the exact same thing. You can just go sub to his YouTube right now, too. I'm trying to make sure that, like, in addition to growing us, we're helping to grow the Marvel Snap community because we're all in this together. And if one of us eats, we should all eat. If the community thrives, the game thrives, we all win. Plus, you got to celebrate birthdays. You got to love life, and that's what birthdays are. Ooh. We, as always, believe in deck credits here. I managed to not put Lamby's Twitch. It's LambySeries TV, I believe, on Twitch. He is LambySeries Gaming on YouTube. He's the smartest deck card player I know. The way he talks about the game, he's got a series with our friend Peaceful Sea, who you should also check out, called Next Level Snapping. That's like the best strategy videos in all of Marvel Snap. It's worth watching. You can find Keen on twitter.com/Keen Koala. He's awesome. And as I told you earlier, Super Tech God, twitch.tv/Super Tech God. In addition, check out the Marvel Snaps on YouTube. We did like 2 hours with Glenn Jones, Marvel Snap's principal game designer, in a podcast where we ranked the top 5 cards at every cost slot, and we did an interview with him. So check that out. And last week, I was on Marvel Snapcast, that's Super Tech God and Cino's podcast, and we had an absolute blast. So if you're down for some more quality content, please check those out. Our first deck is Lambi is Inevitable, and I'm just going to tell you, this isn't terribly different from the Thanos decks we've seen, with the exception of one card. That one card is Echo. Echo in Thanos right now is absolutely brilliant. It basically locks off a lane. So if you can get a Professor X in one lane and an Echo in the other, you are just like so incredibly favored. But against decks like Darkhawk, where you have trouble, right? Because they can drop a Darkhawk in that lane where you're set up to Professor X and beat you. They can't do that if Echo's in the lane, so you get that auto win, right? It's just brilliant. It's absolutely fantastic. Meanwhile, if you get a Professor X against another deck off in a regular spot, right? You lock up a lane with that Professor X, and Echo's in another lane. You can tell last turn where they're going to play, and if you can lock them into a play last turn, well, now Alioth is completely insane, right? And if one lane is locked up, Shang is completely insane. Let's say that they get a um big vision, 11 power vision in one lane. Well, you know that that's going to move, so something else can be played there. Shang is now incredibly, incredibly powerful. You can also just go above 11 because you have Devil Dino or you have your own vision with Elsa and so on. Um, this deck is really cool and really strong, and it appropriately has America Chavez to help you with the consistency. Um, we're going to talk about something Elsa related when we get to the deck guy, but let's go a little on. You need Thanos and Elsa for this list. I don't think it works without both. Echo is really great, but could be Nightcrawler or Cosmo. I think that is likely the difference between this being like a T1 deck and like a T1A deck. Like, I think like Echo is the secret sauce here, but you're perfectly fine with Nightcrawler or Cosmo. Alioth can be leader whenever I think it can't. People in the comments that have seen me make that suggestion before go, nope, still works. So be careful with space if you're replacing Alioth with leader, but you should still, generally speaking, win if you make that change. All right. Lambi plus Thanos, name a better duo. Turn 1, stone draw, Echo over the non-draw stone. So Echo over a soul stone, Echo over a power stone. If the stone draws, you want to Echo. You can play the time stone on turn 1 if you already have Psylocke in hand for turn 3. Otherwise, you just pass and wait. Turn 2, Elsa is number 1 priority. And I've seen a few comments lately going, why is Elsa always your first priority on 2? And Elsa's my first priority because I want to win cubes. Because my goal in Marvel Snap is to win cubes. And if I have Elsa on turn 2 or 3 and they don't, I'm now so favored that if I snap, the proper course of action is to retreat. Elsa is broken. I fully expect her to get nerfed later this week. But for the time being, I think that because she is so strong, unless your opponent has a guaranteed counter or has like the uber nut hand, if you Elsa and by turn 3 they don't have anything and you snap, that's game. They should definitely be leaving, especially on ladder. Like, why risk that? They're probably running Elsa too, and they are now way behind because they haven't seen it. Jeff is a fine plan otherwise, or you do what you were doing in number 1. Again, no time stone or Psylocke unless you already have Psylocke in hand, then you can drop time stone if you need an extra card. Turn 3, time stone or Psylocke, plus whatever you can with them. If you have this play, snap before you play it. Because Professor X, Vision, Blue Marvel, or Devil Dino here are stellar. Be mildly wary of Blue Marvel and Devil Dino early. Rogue is in the meta and can ruin your life. Try and put them in the same lane as a Power or Soul Stone where possible. This way, if they try and rogue you, they have to win 50-50s to beat you. Vision is stellar. Vision really wants to fill a lane on 5, which is why you prefer to Professor X. Plus, Professor X can just be a 1 lane at that point, right? You can always move Jeff over. Don't be afraid to use Professor X last to fill a lane. With Elsa, 6 power Professor X is great. And don't forget that if Professor X locks a lane with 3, dropping Jeff in it later will give Jeff the bump still. All right. Turn 5 is basically the same strategy as 4, except that Devil Dino moves up the list of cards you want to play. I would go so far as to say, unless you're getting the vision plus extra benefit, Devil Dino's probably a better play. And turn 6 is Shang and whatever you can, or Alioth. If they've got a big Red Skull sitting out there without an armor, Shang-Chi seems pretty good, especially if you have priority. If not, Alioth works perfectly well as a way to basically say, I know you can't play here, so I can just win by dropping this particular card. That's the general play line. I've been waiting to say that Elsa thing for a while. I thought I was sort of implying it by saying play early, but make sure that like Elsa early snap is a thing and Timestone or Psylocke early and snap is a thing. All right, quick variant talk before we move on. My cat is looking at me like he might jump on me, so if you see me looking off to the side, you know what's happening. Um, I don't have a variant for Echo. I now wish I had opened for one because I knew she was going to be good. I just didn't know when. We've got our standard we've got 4 hips here, which is our standard amount. We want to have at least 4 hips. Best variants in the game, as far as I'm concerned. Because I love Baby Professor X with his boyfriend Magneto, I went with Baby America and Baby Shang-Chi to just, round out the, baby crew. I need a Psylocke. I really want it to be hip Psylocke. I've seen other Psylocks, but there is a hip and I want it. Same thing for Vision. I don't really like this Vision, but there's a hip and I want it. We've got our cozy Devil Dino. This is the cutest Devil Dino. My favorite Thanos because it just suits the character. And that's where we are with the variants for this one. Next up, we got Keen's Quake. The gist of this deck is, okay, so this deck can win on the back of fundamentally being a very similar deck to the to the move decks we've seen before that were running Alioth, where it basically just says, okay, so I'm gonna be able to um chunk up an Elsa, win a lane with the Storm, and then Alioth just closes out the game, right? It's also got the set them up with Nebula, then Storm, make them like overcommit. You Quake, you knock everything all over the board, and now like you've likely either won that lane or you've locked them out of it to some extent. That Storm lane, and now you can like move your Jeff in there to win or whatever else you need. Um, you can also just Storm on 4 and Legion and win. This deck does a surprisingly good job of that because of Elsa. Opponents are doing things on turn 5 like bouncing their hand up and Legion just steals cubes. Um, Not sure about Spider-Woman. I think it's probably better as Vision because Luke Cage is in the meta. But otherwise, like when they pile up to either get through the Storm or Nebula, Spider-Woman is incredible power. A 5/12 is nothing to sneeze at, and that has such high value. Crossbones just gives you priority um for Alioth or Spider-Woman, and that's also obviously really, really great. It's also a nice last turn play with Shadow King if you can pull that together. All right, Nebula can be Sunspot, not as good. Nebula tells your opponent where to play. That's what got value in this. Jeff can be Silk, but that probably doesn't help since they're both Series 5. Um, Mobius can be Silk, Medusa, or Nightcrawler. Mobius is much less important and might be a card I actually cut here. Alioth is leader as usual, and Legion can be Vision. I think, again, I would make Spider-Woman be Vision. I can't believe I usually do Koala right like in the first week of the season. And as soon as he hits infinite, right? And like I was late this season. I thought I did the video, and then I looked at the deck and I was like, I never covered that. Whoops. So King Koala does this every month, and every month we cover the new version of this deck because it's just the coolest thing. That Quake, one of the worst cards in the game, is constantly OP in this player's hands, and that when our viewers actually practice with this deck, they become OP with it too. Although serious advice, if you're gonna practice with it, you're probably gonna be bad in the first place. Ian will be in the comments usually of this video answering questions you might have about the deck, but like practice in Conquest, please, not in like practice in Proving Grounds. Don't practice on ladder if you're worried about your rank. Okay, turn 1 Nebula, turn 2 Elsa is my priority, as always, then Mobius, then Jeff. I would not play the other twos here, the other twos being um Shadow King and Quake there for later. Turn 3, Storm left or right, and one of the twos. I do not generally like Storm center because that's where I want to Quake. And I'm trying to get them to like overcommit to a lane that like I'm not putting power in, and I have to put Quake in middle, so I'm putting power there. Okay. Turn 4 is Quake plus another 2 or Crossbones. If you stormed and Crossbones, if you were ahead, if you like have Nebula Storm Crossbones, congrats, you won that lane. Enjoy yourself. You can also storm here on turn 4 if you're ahead and Legion is in hand. If your Nebula has been growing a little bit, for example, if you've gotten like a lot of powerful plays out, then feel free to storm here so you can Legion on 5. Turn 5 is generally Spider-Woman, wherever they stacked stuff for storm. And lastly, turn 6 is almost always Alioth to just say, slam that door shut. The other turn 6 play is Shadow King and Crossbones or Shadow King and Shang-Chi. That's also obviously often a very, very powerful play. All right, more variants. We've got 5 hips here, a beautiful number. 5 is excuse me, 6. Ah, you love to see it. 6 hips. Nebula's eye glows. It's glorious. You can see all the other hips. Legion is one of the rare cards. I like the non-hip as much as the hip. I have what I call in my head the David Bowie Legion, where he's playing guitar, that I like an awful lot. I got the Shadow King last week. I think it's a cool Shadow King. Um, Also, I'm down to, I believe now, 19 cards I don't have variants for. So thanks for joining the party, Shadow King. We've got this lovely Storm they gave us for whatever music video they made that I love. This Shang-Chi is gold and glorious, one of my favorite cards. I pulled this Quake from Random Collection Track. I have another decent Quake, but this one feels more Quakey, so I'm all for it. It also reminds me of the Secret Warriors run that Quake comes from that I love so much. Um, and then we've got this Venomized Spider-Woman. I don't usually like Venomized art, but Spider-Woman's an exception. I think it's really, really great looking. All right. We are on to my shop for the day. Then I'm gonna give you some reminders and we're done. I bought that Viper. That's how I only have 19 cards left I need. I wasn't thrilled about it, but there's not a Viper coming I love, and this just gets this off my list of cards I need so I can move on. 19 away from complete. Um, I almost bought this cable. I've talked about hips all episode. I love hips, but cable as a 3/4 is back to going in precisely 0 decks, and I'm not buying a hip that I'm not going to play when I have this really, really cool Cable already. I don't love Young Cable as a character, but I love Young Cable as um Black Catfish is unbelievably adorable, and if it were 700, I'd buy it, even though I have this noir that I love, because that is a great noir. But for 1200, it's just a bridge too far for a card I already have. But hey, whoever came up with Black Catfish, A plus. And finally, we've got Rogue. Brian Gonzalez. I want to buy a nice round piece of art just because, well, she's had a tough week, and like I don't know if she's like one of the specifically paid by Marvel Snap people, but I hope so. So that if you buy her art, we can tell her we want them to buy more of her art. But I already have super and like it's 1200, and I already have super cozy Winter Rogue, and I love my super cozy art. All about it. One might say I'm a cozy gamer. All right, cool. Bad puns aside, thank you so much for watching. We're done. Don't forget, tomorrow, Tuesday, depending on when you're watching this, 6 p.m. Eastern, Super Tech God's birthday stream. Give him a follow. Obviously, follow us, please. We're doing a ton of giveaways, and we always appreciate your support. But give him a follow. Say happy birthday. Show some love. We appreciate you. We appreciate all your support. Don't forget, we got 2 videos coming for you tomorrow. Peace.